Now all a quadratic expression means is that it will contain an x squared term, or indeed a letter squared term. So let's have a look at an example of multiplying out a pair of brackets, and then as usual we'll come back and do some examples together on the board. If we want to multiply out and simplify this pair of brackets, x plus 2 by x plus 3, one of the best methods to use is what's known as the FOIL method. And the FOIL each stand for a different multiplication within this calculation. F stands for the first, in which case it's the first term in each bracket, x times x, which gives us an answer of x squared. O stands for the outside terms, so in this case it would be x and the 3, multiplying them gives us 3x. The I stands for the inside terms, so those two terms that are next to each other in the middle. 2 times x gives us 2x. And L stands for the last terms in each bracket. In this case, 2 multiplied by 3, which gives us an answer of 6. In order to work out our final answer then, we need to add those together and do any simplification that we can. So you'll see here that the 3x and 2x will combine together to give us 5x, and so our final answer therefore simplifies to x squared plus 5x plus 6. Right, so you may well have a method that's different to the FOIL method for multiplying out brackets. And as usual with most things in maths, it's about finding the method that you feel happiest with. So if you have a method that works for you every single time you multiply out a pair of brackets, stick with that method. There's no point trying to learn a new method that may confuse you into getting questions wrong. Now what I want you to do, I'm going to write down some brackets on the board, and then I want you to press pause, have a go at working them out, and then press play again to see how you got on with the questions, and use whatever method you prefer to work out those answers. So the questions I want you to do are the 4 following pairs of brackets: x plus 5 times x plus 2, x minus 3 multiplied by x plus 7, x plus 2 multiplied by x minus 6, and x minus 5 multiplied by x minus 3. So have a go at multiplying those 4 pairs of brackets out and see what answers you come up with. Okay, hopefully you managed those quite easily. Let's check now and see if you've got the same answers as I do. So, using our method, x times x gives us x squared, x multiplied by 2 gives me 2x, 5 multiplied by x gives me 5x, and 5 multiplied by 2 gives me 10. Remember, you should always end up with 4 terms after you've multiplied them out, because every term in here needs to be multiplied by every term in there, which is why we end up with 4 terms. Then we can collect them together and we'll end up with our final answer. The only terms we can collect, remember, are like terms, so 2x plus 5x will give us 7x, so our final answer would be x squared plus 7x plus 10. Now in the next one, exactly the same rules apply. This time though, being careful of this negative 3 we have here. X times x, x squared, x times 7, 7x, minus 3 times x, minus 3x, and then minus 3 multiplied by positive 7, which will give us minus 21. Simplifying again, that's going to give me x squared plus 4x minus 21. Next one, again, one positive, one negative, so just be careful with this multiplying out. X times x gives me x squared, x multiplied by minus 6 gives me minus 6x, 2 multiplied by x gives me plus 2x, and 2 multiplied by minus 6 gives me minus 12. Simplifying those x terms in the middle, being careful though, because minus 6 plus 2, remember, is negative 4x, minus 12. And the last one, two negatives here, so we're multiplying out again. X times x, x squared, x times minus 3, minus 3x, minus 5 times x, minus 5x, and minus 5 multiplied by minus 3. Remember, two negatives when we multiply make a positive, gives me plus 15. Again, being careful when we simplify, the x squared will be there. Remember though, minus 3x minus 5x gives me a final answer of minus 8x. And then I add 15. So that's our four solutions for those four pairs of brackets. If you got all of those right, fantastic. If you didn't get one or two of them right, go back now and check the multiplying out that I did and see where it is you went wrong in your working out. So hopefully you're happy with the process for multiplying out those first four pairs of brackets. Let's have a look at three more now that are slightly trickier. So the first bracket, x minus 4 squared, then x plus 2, y minus 3, and then finally a plus 2b multiplied by 2a minus b. Now, the reason why these are slightly different, the first one you'll notice only has one bracket. Now, a common mistake people make here is they just write it as x squared minus 16. They square both things inside the bracket and think that's their answer. But you must remember, x minus 4 squared means x minus 4 multiplied by x minus 4. So it is in fact a double bracket question, which means I will have four terms when I multiply out, which means that that x squared minus 16 answer is not right. So x times x gives us x squared, x times minus 4, minus 4x, minus 4 times x, minus 4x again, minus 4 times minus 4, plus 16. So simplifying that gives us x squared minus 8x plus 16. So you can see that's a completely different answer to the x squared minus 16 that a lot of people do. So remember, it's not as easy as just squaring the terms in there. Think about it as being, if it's a bracket squared, the bracket multiplied by the bracket again. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Now this one's different because obviously I have an x term in my first bracket and a y term in the second. But the same rules apply when multiplying out brackets. We've just got to be careful that we write our terms correctly. So in this case, x times y, well that would be xy. X times minus 3 is minus 3x. 2 times y is plus 2y. And then 2 multiplied by minus 3 would give me minus 6. Now this is one of those questions where I can't do any further simplification, because if you notice, I've got one term that's got an x and a y in it, one term that only has an x, one term that only has a y, and a number term that has no letters in it at all. So that is in its simplest form. Last question, a plus 2b multiplied by 2a minus b. Again, there's two different letters in each bracket. Doesn't matter, we still multiply out in exactly the same way. A multiplied by 2a, 2a squared. A multiplied by minus b. That's going to give me minus ab. 2b multiplied by 2a. That would give me 4ab. 2b multiplied by minus b will give me minus 2b squared. Now you may have thought that 2b multiplied by 2a gives you 4ba. It's the same thing as 4ab. I always tell my students to write it alphabetically though, because then when it comes to simplifying, you can see that these two will simplify. So I can write my final answer as 2a squared minus 1ab plus 4ab will give me 3ab, and that's positive 3ab, and then subtract the 2b squared from the end. So just that little hint about writing things alphabetically means you'll always be able to see that these are in fact like terms.